Hello and welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney to Resolve, where I don't even know what's happening anymore. Last time, the freaking the kinesis machine or whatever the hell it is, it blew up. Not the fake one in the building where we all were, where Sholmes is like, yes, you see, it's an anti-gravity device. Oh, elementary, my dear Wilson. No, the original one, the one that was on the stage at the exhibition. Just blew up to smithereens, and probably people died. There's no way they did. Well, I mean, well, maybe, I don't know. I mean, the hairbrain survived his explosion, so I don't know. But I presume at least a couple people died in that explosion. So I'm pretty sure the only thing that we have left as evidence, because that was the whole point, was to destroy the evidence. So that's gone now. I think the only thing we have left as evidence is, do we still have the birdcage? Yeah, okay, we still have the birdcage itself. We still have this as proof that it existed, I guess. So we can still examine this at our leisure, and yikes, this thing has been beaten the hell up. Good Lord Almighty. Ah, look here, Mr. Sato. Oh, yes, the wood's cracked and broken a little. It was because it fell in such a... One would assume, yes. Yes, from the height at which the balloon was flying down into the crystal tower below. A fall of about 30 feet or 9 meters, leaving the man inside tragically dead. Waxwork. What? I didn't say anything. I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea what's going on anymore. Things are flying all over the place. There's anti-gravity. I mean, there's no anti-gravity, but you know what I mean with Mr. Sholmes. It's just, there's safes, there's people placing bombs everywhere. I don't know what's happening anymore. This case is insane, and I just can't wait to keep going. October 24th, 9:11 a.m. The old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. Let's do this thing. Good morning to you, Mr. Naruhodo. Ah, good morning, Professor. Ready for today's proceedings? I don't know how you can be ready for anything after what happened yesterday. I hope so. I shouldn't be. Even I was not left to... Good morning, my dear fellows. Remember yesterday when I thought that an anti-gravity machine existed? Oh, what a fun time that was. Oh, Mr. Sholmes, you're here. Why, naturally, a true gentleman stands shoulder to shoulder with his friends in battle at all times. You will not be... Yeah, you say that now, you will not be standing by our side at all, at any point during this trial, I guarantee it. You'll be in the gallery the whole time. Thank you, I really appreciate it. I'll see you later then. Now, Professor, we really need you to remain calm in the courtroom today. Yes, do try your hardest not to enter the witness stand uninvited again. Yes, I will. I realize it was a mistake, but... My dear fellows, I must interject. Oh, now what? Oh, you're still here, Mr. Sholmes. What's the matter? Surely you've overlooked some praise, have you not? To be cast in my direction, Sorry, I don't follow. Must I spell it out? I, the great Sherlock Sholmes, the greatest detective of worldwide acclamation with the largest ego on planet Earth. I rose at some ungodly hour to be here now. First thing in the morning, a miracle. What? You being awake? When does that ever happen? You never wake up on time for anything. Well, if I must agree, then... As you know, my sleep is quite impregnable. Iris had to employ her full gamut of tactics. She pulled the covers off, shook me, poked both cheeks, punched me, and kicked me from the bed. Then she poured a boiling cup of her latest experimental blend on my face, and at last I was bestirred. Oh my, Iris has been busy. Iris doesn't have it in her to go that far. She's too nice. I sense the spirit of a fellow scientist, one who relishes the infinite possibilities of blending tea. I'm the one worthy of praise here, not Iris. This is my victory. No, the victory is that she managed to get you out of bed, because if it were not for her, you'd still be lounging around in your bed at home. This is her victory, not yours. Nice try, buddy. Oh, now what? Hey, Gregson! Oh, Inspector Gregson, good morning. Gregson, my dear fellow, why the grim expression at this delightfully early hour? Oh, I don't know. Maybe because I've been confronted with a grimmer expression, eh? Dear me, are you going to take that insult lying down, Professor? What? I don't know. Poor Professor. Anyway, here's the paperwork you asked for. What paperwork? Ah, I took the liberty of requesting it yesterday. I have a feeling it may prove useful. You wouldn't believe the hoops I had to jump through to get this prior out of the archives. It's the professor's autopsy report. That mass murderers who killed five members of the aristocracy. He was found guilty in a closed trial 10 years ago now. It was all done under wraps, and he was quickly executed soon after the trial. It's all in here. Us lowly law of the yard judges doing what we can, in the shadow of the great Detective Sholmes, of course. You said it with the utmost of sarcasm. Well then, Professor Hairbrain, this is it. Today we're going to lay all this to rest. I wish you the best of luck, Professor! I suppose he'll be in there today, will he? Drebber. Yes, we expect the prosecution to summon him as a witness. I'm still amazed that you managed to find him in just one day. You're all very calm about the fact that they just blew up the exhibition stage. I'm surprised no one's... you may be amazed at that. I'm amazed that nobody has brought it up until this point. I really owe you both so much.
Counsel and the defendant. The trial is about to resume. Kindly make your way into the courtroom at once.
Alright, this is it. I don't... This case has been insane so far. I don't know... This is it then. This is the final chapter. I'm funny, my heart's racing a little. I've not felt this before, actually. This strange foreboding. As if something's going to happen in this trial that I'm not ready for. But I can't let that distract me from the only thing that really matters. Finding the truth. That's a large tease to make this early. That's an insanely large tease to make. That something's gonna happen we're not ready for. That implies something major. That implies, like, major plot beats are going to be unfolded here. I don't know if I'm ready for that. October 24th, 9:30 a.m. the Old Bailey courtroom. Oh, yeah, there he is. Yup, there he is. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We resume the public hearing of Albert Harebrain, here present, who stands accused of murder. Are the counsels for the prosecution or defense ready to proceed? I don't like that. The prosecution is ready, my lord. The defense is ready, my lord. He set out to recovering from what he's just seen across the aisle. As promised, Lord Van Zieks is his apprentice with him. His apprentice with memory loss. If I may, Lord Van Zieks. Yes, my lord. There appears to be someone standing at your side. Ah, yes. My apprentice and assistant. The prosecution believes today's proceedings will see the complexity of this case rise considerably. Oh. Really? You needed to... Okay. Talk about overkill. I've therefore instructed my assistant to ensure the smooth running of the trial. And the smooth running of liquid refreshments by the look of it. The way he holds himself, the way he moves, it couldn't be anyone else. But he's still suffering from amnesia, so there's really nothing we can do at the moment. I know, but... Oh, this is so very hard. I have to just not look at the eyes in order to get through this dialogue, I swear to God. It would appear the prosecution has done a fine job in responding to the demands of the court made yesterday. I understand you have successfully secured the engineer who disappeared from the scene on the day in question. Yes, my lord. Through no work of my own, mind you. I intend to call him as a witness shortly. Very good, very good. Now then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, who have been chosen at random to represent the will of the people in this courtroom. This is the first jury in a long time that I can actually believe was chosen at random. Are you ready and willing to proceed? Of course, my lord. I'm sure we all understand the importance of doing our civic duty. I do despise deception and deceit. I find it so very wearing. To take a man's life with a conjuring trick, it is against the magician's code not to mention it at all. Any fake scientists feel the wrath of God, if you ask me. We have to listen to what's said on both sides of the fence, and then settle on one. That's it, isn't it? Wasn't like this in my day. Wasn't like this at all. You've done a great job so far in this case of making the jury not essential to the outcome of the plot. Please keep that going. Don't screw up. I swear to God, if it's revealed that freaking Winnie the Pooh knockoff is revealed to have some kind of intrinsic deep connection to this plot, I'm gonna throw my switch out the window. If all parties are ready to proceed, you may begin, Lord Van Zieks. They better, for once, they better just be a random jury with no connection to anything, I swear to God. Before I do, my lord, there is a report I must read to the court. Yesterday, at the Great Exhibition grounds, the evidence of primary importance in this case, the super high-voltage instantaneous kinesis machine, which was installed on the experimentation stage, was deliberately destroyed in an explosion effected by an unknown person or persons. It was... what? An explosion? This is an outrage. I feel like maybe you would have heard about it. Or maybe you would have felt the earth shake. Yes, I heard this grave news yesterday. Scotland Yard submitted a report to my office in the evening. I read that the machine was blasted to smithers, and the wreckage reduced to ashes in the flames. I have here a photographic print of the scene, taken in the wake of the explosion. It shows what little remains of the machine. Yes, a terrible business. He did it to destroy the evidence, did he? That Enoch Drebber. The court will take this print as evidence, counsel. Okay. Late yesterday afternoon, the protection afforded to the machine by the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act was revoked. However, before a thorough investigation could begin, the invention was obliterated from existence.
As such, this will become a very different trial.
I don't even know.
As it stands now, with no evidence on which to draw meaningful conclusions, the authenticity of the Kinesis machine will remain forever in obscurity.
Indeed. A most unfortunate state of affairs. I'm gonna go ahead and press exit out on that one.
However, one thing remains clear. The victim's death was the result of the actions of the accused. Of that we can be certain, for it was the accused himself who was operating the machine and ultimately caused its loss of control.
As Lord Van Zieks rightly says, this is a very different trial now. The accused accepts responsibility for this part in the events that transpired. He acknowledges that Mr. Assman died as a result of the accident caused by his machine's malfunction. However, unbeknownst to the professor, he was being deliberately deceived by a pair of very clever fraudsters.
Names, Counsel, if you please.
The engineer, Mr. Enoch Drebber, and the victim himself, Mr. Odie Assman. So what exactly were these two men up to behind the defendant's back? The defense intends to expose that information, thus establishing the unequivocal innocence of the defendant.
Thank you, counsels. The positions of the prosecution and defense have been clearly stated. Lord Van Ziek, summon your first witness, please.
At once, my lord. The prosecution calls the engineer, Mr. Enoch Drebber, to the stand.
Hey there, buddy. Remember when you blew up a whole bunch of people yesterday?
State your name and occupation for the court.
Name, Enoch Drebber. Occupation. Hard to pin down, I would say. For the moment, I'd go with cyborg. I'd write that as your occupation for the time being.
Your file indicates that you are currently being investigated in connection with another case. The theft of a waxwork model, is it?
But that has no bearing on this trial, I assure you. I cannot tell a lie, for I am a robot. Cleave it from your mind.
You're familiar with the public experiment carried out at the Great Exhibition some days ago. The accused super high voltage instantaneous kinesis demonstration.
Yes, you could say that. I am aware of it. There was a terrible accident, wasn't there? Yeah, a terrible accident. Oh no, whatever happened? What a terrible accident of which I know absolutely nothing.
It was you, Mr. Drebber, who constructed the vast machine used in the experiment, and also the one who subsequently destroyed it in the massive explosion yesterday. Or so our investigation indicates. Can you confirm your involvement?
Yes, I constructed it. I also destroyed it, in precise accordance with the blueprints, but that's all.
Then the court will be very interested to hear your thoughts about the machine, I'm sure.
Okay, again, like, it's very fascinating to actually watch the cogs physically turn, but really, dude, really? Could you be any more dramatic about it? An amazing device, if you ask me, the one who built it. I'm calling my own machine amazing. The pinnacle of modern science, making instantaneous kinesis of reality at last. What?
Good gracious, you mean to say that the experiment was bona fide? Is that your belief, sir? Because
yes, that is very much my belief. Such a waste that it blew up. But we've already established the machine was nothing more than a prop for an elaborate conjuring trick.
You've established nothing of the sort.
Yeah, are you kidding me?
All that was shown during yesterday's proceedings is that the same outcome could have been produced by means of stage trickery.
We have proof with the balloon and the cross.
The defense merely proposed a method and demonstrated its feasibility. Nothing more.
Okay, reverse card, you've done the same. But.
Well, we've procrastinated long enough, I feel. Witness, you will now give your formal testimony about the machine that you constructed for the purpose of the demonstration of the Great Exhibition.
Oh, this should be good. Oh, this should be good. This should be real good. Let's let the cyborg do his bit. The kinesis machine. I met the young professor approximately 1 year ago. Through Mr. Assman's introduction, he provided me with the blueprint and I constructed the machine to his precise specifications. It was no trick. If the whole show was a fraud, it would have required a body double. Tell me, did the victim have a twin? Well, not exactly, but there is something else of which we don't have on hand. I guess this is the closest we have. We do have a little something else. All the spectators saw the birdcage appear above their heads and then crash headfirst into the crystal tower. Well, it didn't crash headfirst. It didn't crash headfirst in because the damage is on the bottom of the thing. So, it didn't crash headfirst. Nice try, though. Solid 3 out of 10 on that one. A body double? That goes without saying, surely. To give the impression that something has moved when in reality it hasn't. It's a basic conjuring principle. The deception cannot be achieved without substituting the original with a fake at some point in the performance. But would I be right in saying you haven't managed to establish anything along those lines? Oh, not yet, buddy, but we spent an inordinate amount of time at the Waxwork Museum, so that's the thing. I feel like... Because I feel like they've done so little work trying to link the two together that it almost feels too, like, it feels deceptively obvious. Like, usually when there's a thing over here, and then a thing over here, are they linked? I don't know. The game's usually where it's like, I wonder if there's a connection between these two things. Whereas this case is just like, oh yeah, there's the exhibition, but also over here there's just a random waxwork thing that doesn't have anything to do with it. It's like, really? You sure about that one, buddy? I don't know about that one.
Incidentally, the prosecution has already confirmed that Mr. Assman has no words are difficult for my mouth to comprehend.
It's my understanding that this witness is well versed in conjuring artfulness. But such talents do not indicate that he was actually able to accomplish what he claims. Namely, the construction of what, by all accounts, must have been an extremely complex scientific machine.
Whatever do you mean?
Yesterday's proceedings brought the true nature of something or other to light.
True nature of past exploits, okay. As a swindler who preys on innocent scientists to elicit government grant money through conjuring know-how, it's true that I possess considerable knowledge of stage magic. But, crucially, my scientific knowledge more than matches that of any academic in the field.
The investigation of the witness's workshop attests to that claim, my lord. As evidence, the police found this Royal Society trophy for young talent in science.
Is there anything inside the trophy? Because it feels really weird that it was just conspicuously placed there. Yes, that's true, but conspicuously placed there and tipped over as well. We spotted it there ourselves! If a hypothesis is sound, it can always be forged into a physical manifestation with sufficient skill. Though I may have sold the secrets of some deceptive wiles to sniveling, talentless scientists in the past.
Would you therefore assert that the explosion of the machine was
an unfortunate accident, or, of course, a deliberate act of murder carried out by misuse of the science? You keep telling yourself that, buddy. You just wait till we prove that waxwork. I mean, we should be able to, because we found the glass inside the thing.
Counsel for the defense, your cross-examination, please.
Yes, my lord. Okay. Cross-examination. Here we go. Alright, step 1. All the spectators saw the birdcage appear above their head and crash at first. No, they didn't, because the damage on this thing is on the underside of it. Objection. I just need a staples button for this game. We examined the birdcage that crashed into the crystal tower ourselves. As you can see, the cage, which is a wooden construction, has sustained damage in one particular spot.
Following the explosion, it fell some 30 feet into the glass of the crystal tower. That level of damage is to be expected, surely.
I agree. The damage itself is entirely understandable. What doesn't make sense is the location of that damage. All the breakages in the wood are at the base of the wood cage, not the top. What are you saying?
That's the opposite of where they should be.
That's right, my lord. That birdcage was at the scene in the damage. It's damaged at its base. So we have reports of the birdcage falling headlong into the crystal tower, yet the damage is at the bottom. The only way to reconcile these two facts is to accept that there were 2 birdcages in play that day, which were at some point switched during what wasn't a scientific experiment at all, but an elaborate piece of stage trickery!
Oh, good gracious, explain yourself, witness.
Well...
If we examine the facts, there's only one logical conclusion we can draw. The damage on the base of the birdcage clearly indicates that it crashed head first in the tower. Also, I already forgot that Kazuma's there. He's just, like, choking in the background. I already completely forgot that he's there. Gotta be honest. But multiple witness reports claim it fell head first. The birdcage materialized in the sky next to a balloon flying over the stage, following a spontaneous explosion at an altitude of some 60 feet above ground level.
Which is approximately 18 meters.
It then proceeded to fall some 30 feet into the crystal tower and the ensuing deflagration. Witness reports amid such chaos are notoriously unreliable.
Okay. But the victim's neck was broken.
He plummeted 30 feet inside a heavy wooden cage. However he fell, it would be unsurprising to find one or two of his vertebrae crushed.
Oh, now what? A riveting scientific analysis of events from the prosecution there, though to be even more rigorous, you would have to say it was only one vertebrae, actually.
He wasn't quiet for long.
I find it hard to see what's motivating Lord Van Zeeks. This witness is clearly a swindler, and one who deceived a personal friend of his.
If you're going to establish a deception, do it right.
Sorry?
I feel like that's the undertone here.
Ah, yes, and there's one more point. The defense appears to have forgotten. It obviously wasn't a trick, as a certain truth very plainly demonstrates.
What? It seems to me that the cross-examination had better continue until we resolve this matter. Mr. Jagger, you will amend your testimony with details of this truth.
Of course, we must treat the matter scientifically after all.
Ah, I nearly had him there. So was that wrong then? Was that the wrong thing to present? Oh dear God, he's back to being a cyborg. We're fan androids and furbots. I am a robot.
The kinesis clearly took place because there's nowhere else 30 feet high for the breakage of
Really? That's what you're going with? Really? That's what you're going with? Are you kidding me? Seriously? Do you even need me to point it out to you? The platform has a trap door that you could fall the exact same distance down as you would. Really? That's what you're going with? That's what you're going with, buddy. Okay then.
We know that somehow the birdcage appeared in midair before falling down into the crystal tower. A fall of about 30 feet or 9 meters. However, if you examine the diagram carefully, you'll see that there is one other possible location from which the birdcage could have fallen. The same distance of 30 feet.
No.
Well, it appears the defense. Go ahead, counsel.
Yes, my lord, of course.
You will indicate the place to which you are referring on the same diagram.
The alternative location from which the birdcage could possibly have fallen, the requisite 30 feet. Obviously, the only place you could have possibly got. Okay, wow, this cursor was moving slower than I remembered. The only place you could have possibly fallen from where. Actually, wait. How specific do you want me to be with this? The alternative location from which the birdcage could possibly fall. Because what I'm trying to imply is that he fell through the machine. But do you want me to present the top where he'd fall? I'm just gonna pick the machine itself and hope this works. Is that good? Do it? If it had fallen from here, the birdcage would have plummeted the same 30-foot distance. That seems like a vague statement deliberately. Is that wrong?
If that's my learned friend's claim, I suggest he demonstrates for the court personally.
Huh?
Okay. So I'm trying to show that he fell down the machine. Hence the 30-foot drop. So what do you want me to... I guess I must have to just show it up here, right? That's gotta be what it is. Okay, I don't know about that one. I feel like if I just presented the machine itself, that would have been, I don't know about that one there, buddy. That's another one of those, I understand what you want me to present, as in, like, I get the logic, but where you want me to actually present it, it's kind of like, okay, I'll let that one slide. The case of, if this had happened in case 2, I'd be like, nah, I'm not letting that slide. But when the rest of the case has been so good, I'm like, okay, we'll let that one go. The place I'm referring to is here! But that's where the birdcage would have been to begin with, which is exactly the point, my lord. Yes, the birdcage was in the machine on the stage, but what we must also consider is the height of the stage itself. Go on, counsel. It turns out that the experimentation stage was built at a considerable height above ground level. If you look at the diagram, in fact, you'll see it's about the same height above the ground as the balloon was above the crash site. When the experiment got underway, the machine and the birdcage were engulfed in steam. At that moment, the floor of the stage gave way, and if we assume that to be a void underneath, this birdcage and the one seen by the audience would have fallen almost exactly the same distance. Yeah, I thought it was all just kind of implied that that's where he would have, because obviously it would have had to fall
Yeah, obviously it didn't disappear, it would have had to fall downward. Once again, my lord, this all points to the fact that there was not one birdcage, but two!
My learned friend has no evidence that the stage had such a contrivance in its design.
Someone is responsible for the criminal destruction of the Kinesis Magician itself, that's true. Excuse me. I don't know, I think I just choked in saliva or something. However, the stage still stands. I take a moment to look at the photographic print of the scene following yesterday's explosion. Sorry.
Good lord, the metal grill that formed the floor of the machine is undone.
Yes, most likely blown open by the force of the explosion that destroyed the rest of the machine. The defense calls for the space below the stage to be investigated immediately! Mr. Drebber! Running scared now, everybody? It's only been like 30 minutes, if that. If it was you who built the Kinesis machine, which means that it was you who built the two bird cages that were used to carry out this deception. Whether the Professor Harebrain's hypothesis is sound or not makes no difference, because it's the construction of this machine that matters. A machine designed to take Mr. Assman's life. And lay the blame firmly at the Professor's door, something that could only have been carried out by you, Mr. Enoch Drebber! Already? I thought we were going to go into a breakdown already. It's like we're 30 minutes into the first trial. I mean, I guess this could be the last trial, but the previous structure, the last case of the structure of the last case would imply there'd be a second trial here. Oh, he's gonna slice it open. Okay, talk about overkill, Jesus Christ. If my learned friend, the thing is, we know he has to be here for a reason. It's what, because obviously he's not just here so we can open the champagne bottle. He's here for another reason. And I'm not sure I want to find out what that other reason's going to be.
If my learned friend has reached the end of his wild assertions. The prosecution would like to crush the defense's argument slowly, but surely.
What?
Your argument fails to hold water.
So, yeah, well, so does your glass, and yet you still end up using it every time.
On 2 counts.
2?
Firstly, before and after the experiment, this witness went nowhere near the Kinesis machine. Every relevant member of staff on the exhibition has attested to that.
I believe members of Scotland Yard have also been on watch duty at every public experiment.
In other words, Mr. Drebber had no opportunity to switch this alleged pair of bird cages.
Alright, well, you know who would have had an opportunity? Who would have had a really, really good opportunity? The same person who wrote the damn autopsy report in the first place, and therefore would have a pretty good opportunity to lie about literally everything. Courtney Scythe herself, or Sith? Scythe? I don't know. Sith sounds like I'm trying to say Star Wars stuff. I'm gonna go with Courtney Scythe. Courtney Scythe. Whatever, I don't know. Okay. I guarantee you that's what it's getting, because she like I said, looking at the screen with her and freaking, I almost called him Damon Gant, and the Justice Minister on the same screen, I'm like, these are the two most evil characters to ever grace my screen. There's no way she's not evil. There's no way she's not evil. It's against the law for her to not be evil. It's like, written in stone somewhere, it's like, this character must be evil. Done. There we go. Problem solved. It's like, she's literally has the perfect opportunity for her to have switched those around. But I've already, especially since it was cordoned off to everyone who wasn't the Forensic Investigative Task Force or whatever. But I've already explained why he wouldn't have needed to.
The nonsense with the crossbow, that doesn't bolster your case at all. The man who disappeared from the stage and the man who crashed into the tower are one and the same. The Forensic Investigation Team's report is unequivocal on that point.
Ah!
And the second flaw in your assertion is a distinct lack of motive. Why would this man have wanted to take the victim's life? He had no reason to do so.
Motive? Do I have to think of everything myself? Welcome to Ace Attorney, my friend.
I have here a contract provided by the witness.
What contract is this, Lord Van Zinks?
The contract into which Mr. Drebber entered with the victim, Mr. Assman, it reads, Mr. Drebber is to receive 30% of all remunerations from government grants or other income.
30%? Certainly very favorable contractual conditions.
But there was one very important provision bolted onto that clause. What provision?
Mr. Drebber may only uphold this right on condition that both contracting parties are alive.
In other words, if either of us were to die, the contract would become null and void. So you see, I had nothing to gain from Mr. Assman's death. The diametric opposite, in fact. Ugh.
Need I say more? The witness had neither an opportunity nor a reason to commit the alleged crime. In short, the possibility of Mr. Drebber having done as you suggest is nil.
Ah. Okay, well, I can't answer the motive question just... Oh, stop dancing, you little turd. I can't answer the motive question just yet. I'm sure that'll become clear in time as we learn more and more. But I can answer the question of how the bodies would have gotten switched. Or at least who would have had the capabilities to switch them around. It seems the defense's assertion was somewhat wide of the mark. Lord Van Zeeks, you will submit the contract as evidence, please. Okay, let me get a good look at that contract just in case there's anything that we're missing here. Okay. So... the investor, Mr. Odiasman, or Odiasman, hereby enters the intercontract with the provider, Mr. Anna Drebber, to fund labor and materials for the construction of a super high-voltage instantaneous communication machine. Mr. Drebber is to receive 30% of all remunerations for government grants or other income. Okay, so nothing we didn't already learn. Great. Okay. Word the check, just in case. If Drebber had no opportunity to switch the birdcage into the stage with one on the Crystal Tower, and he couldn't have done it, in any case, I have no idea what his motive might have been. There is one aspect of your argument that still holds true, however. There were 2 birdcages. The prosecution is unable to deny that. So I'm sure you're on the right lines, Mr. Naruhodo, and I've no doubt there are other aspects of your assertion that are undeniable truths, too!
Well, it would seem that the defense has no rejoinder to offer.
Well, I must say, I'm a little surprised. I came here to testify about the machine I built, and instead, my reputation is defiled, but the prosecution's counter has set the record straight, I think. It's impossible that I'm the culprit.
Yeah, well, wait till we get your accomplice on the stand. At the beginning of this trial, we believed that there was only 1 birdcage, yet now we know there must have been 2. In other words, there was more to the demonstration than we realized at first. I think it's abundantly clear that the same applies to the culprit.
Get to the point.
The stage demonstration was constructed and set up in its entirety by you, Mr. Drebber. Therefore, it's inconceivable that you had no hand in the events that transpired. So if circumstances mean that it's impossible that you could have carried out the crime yourself, it points to the fact that someone else was involved.
Someone else? Counsel, are you suggesting?
Yes, my lord! Mr. Drebber had an accomplice!
An accomplice now? Well then, I presume you're prepared for what's to come. Now that you're accusing not only the witness, but someone else of the most serious of crimes. If these accusations turn out to be false, then make no mistake. The prosecution will demand an equally serious punishment for your slander.
Okay.
Well, counsel, do you intend to pursue this course and formally accuse another party of involvement in this matter?
What do I do here? At the moment, this is little more than a hunch on my part. I don't know for sure if Drebber had an accomplice or even if really is the culprit here. One way or another, though, I have to make my position clear as a lawyer. So what's my stance going to be? Did Drebber have an accomplice or not? Name the accomplice. Let's do it. The defense is ready to name Mr. Drebber's accomplice. Somehow the 2 birdcages must have been switched. Everything points to that. Yet according to the coroner's report, that's not a possibility. But that inconsistency itself is a clue.
Counsel? My lord? You have received a stark warning already. If you are nevertheless determined, then I must now ask you to identify this alleged accomplice by name. So, your answer, please. Who do you claim to have been Mr. Drebber's accomplice?
I claim that Courtney... Where is she? There she is. I went the wrong way again. Courtney Scythe is the accomplice. Please let this be right. The name of the person in question is...
What's wrong, my Nipponese friend? Surely fear doesn't bind your tongue now. It's a little late for that.
Of course I'm afraid. After all, naming her in this capacity is definitely going to make waves. A lot of waves. I could very well turn every single person in this courtroom against me. I'm sure I'll be alright, Mr. Naruhodo. Thank you, Mr. Sato. The enemy always appears larger than life, but you'll always appear exactly the same to the enemy. Alright then. Here goes.
You've kept us waiting long enough. Your answer, counsel, now.
The person who colluded with Mr. Drebber in order to carry out this wicked crime is Scotland Yard's coroner, Dr. Courtney Scythe!
What the blazes are you talking about, Dr. Scythe?
The head of the forensic investigation team and the coroner who conducted the autopsy on the victim?
Yes, that is exactly who I'm referring to. We know there were 2 bird cages, so who could have kept out the switch to complete the illusion? The accident happened in front of a huge crowd of spectators, and the area was immediately sealed off. Then everyone, police officers included, were banished to make way for the forensic investigation team. When else could the switch have occurred? It could only have been in that team's presence. It's essential that the court determines exactly what happened following the incident. The defense demands that Dr. Scythe be summoned to the witness stand at once to testify. I mean, that's a surefire way to get the truth out of her. There's no foe we've encountered thus far that has been able to knock us down, and we haven't been able to draw testimony out of.
You've got a nerve, lad. Standing up there, dragging the yard's name through the mud.
Not the yard's name, just her name. Oh, I didn't mean to.
I know the woman very well. There's no better deadroom worker out there. How dare you call her a criminal?
I mean, if I have the evidence, it doesn't really matter.
My lone friend's imagination appears to be wilder than the East End at night. But the recklessness of your accusation aside, there's another grave problem with your argument. One which the prosecution demands you address at once.
A grave problem? Oh my word!
Who do you claim acted as the victim's doppelganger? Oh, here we go. Here it is. It's finally time.
What?
Certainly, if the bird cage containing the body of the victim was exchanged for another, that cage must have also contained a body.
And yet, no missing persons or accidental deaths of anyone even remotely resembling the victim have been reported.
Well, what if I told you there's a place where they create things that are so lifelike, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between them and a person?
Which means there was no one, dead or alive, who could have fulfilled the role of a body double for Mr. Assman.
Ugh, that's true. If my argument is that there were 2 bird cages, then there must also have been 1 person inside each. But I don't know if I've got an answer to this yet, have I? What can I do to reveal, show some evidence? Show some evidence. Very well, the defense will address my learned friend's concerns.
Oh, really?
By presenting evidence that reveals the true nature of Mr. Assman's body double. Adopting his language, are we?
Good gracious, evidence? I do hope this isn't filibustering, counsel. This court is expecting a name.
If you think you have relevant evidence, present it now.
The body double and the birdcage were hiding inside the balloon that was floating above the stage, which means that any witnesses would only have seen them from 60 feet away. So who was it that appeared out of that explosion some 18 meters above the spectators? Aha! The body double inside the second birdcage was the Waxwork creation! Take that! We know that the victim, Mr. Assman, was in the birdcage that was situated inside the kinesis machine on the stage, and therefore he couldn't have been inside the second birdcage. Instead, that contained something else. What's been described as a body double, which is what fell from the sky and crashed into the Crystal Tower!
Yes, counsel, according to your somewhat elaborate version of events.
And that body double inside the second birdcage was in fact... It's alright, Mr. Naruhodo. You're ready for this. Just steel yourself, and come out with it! Thank you, Mr. Sato. I needed that. As I was saying, the body double inside the second birdcage was, and as unbelievable as it may seem, that thing there!
Yeah, that's just straight up creepy. There's no getting around it. It's just straight up creepy. Open your eyes and look into mine, my Nipponese friend. Now tell me, what are you playing at?
Stand firm now, Ryunosuke. As the court will observe, this is a waxwork model. Oh no, his hands have gone back to making slap sounds again. A model, in fact, of an infamous London murderer from 10 years ago, the Professor!
You started by indicting the leader of the forensic investigation team as an accomplice in this crime, and now you've moved on to indicting Waxworks?
Yes, that's about the size of it.
But why? And why this waxwork? It looks nothing like the victim. In fact, it could hardly resemble him less. What possible justification can you give?
If you want to know why, ask Mr. Drebber.
What?
Just days before Professor Harebrain performed his public demonstration, Mr. Drebber abducted this model from Madame Tuspel's.
Did you just say abducted?
And 2 days after the incident of the Great Exhibition, he returned it to the museum.
Then, the timing.
Is this true, Mr. Drebber?
At first, I couldn't see why Mr. Drebber would have stolen the waxwork and then given it back again, but now the reason is clear. He took it so that he could put it inside the second birdcage as a body double of Mr. Osman! Got you now, buddy.
Are you hearing this, ladies and gentlemen of the jury? Are you hearing the defense's astonishing proposal? That the witness fabricated this vast machine with the intention of deceiving some wretched scientist. That he did so in collusion with the country's finest coroner on a public stage in front of a vast audience. And that, to effect the deception, he used a waxwork model that in no way resembles the victim? Are we really to believe this far-fetched tale? What do you decide?
Objection.
No, no more slaps. Wait! Yes, if you put it like that, of course it sounds implausible. Oh no, not the jury.
I need to speak, if you please. It's final time for summation examination. Go ahead, Mr. Foreman.
Myself and my colleagues have reached an agreement.
Very good. In that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will state your leanings for the court to hear now.
Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty.
Guilty.
Well, sad day for you. That doesn't really mean anything because we can still pull a summation examination out and prove you guys wrong. So I'm not worried in the slightest. I was when our first day in court here in the third case of the first game. I was freaked out by this. Like, wait, well, what happens now? But now it's just like, all right, bring it on, buddy. We can handle whatever you gotta throw at us now.
So, as indicated by the foreman, the jury has reached a consensus.
I knew that was going to happen. We shall get through this, Mr. Naruhodo, as we always do, and uncover some new truths along the way. I'm quite sure. Yes, and I agree. I'm going to have to appeal to the jurors as usual, and see if I can persuade them to change their minds.
The defense will now embark on a summation examination. Are you and your fellows ready to proceed, Mr. Foreman?
We are, my lord.
Very well. In that case, I ask you now to state clearly for all present to hear the grounds on which each of you have decided that the defendant is guilty of the crime of which he is charged.
Bring it on, buddy. Show me what you got. At this point, there's nothing you can throw at us that we can't handle. The jurors' contentions. Oh, we're starting from the right this time? Alright.
I've known that woman for years. She'd never be an accomplice or anything.
Oh, we're going from 6 to 1 to... It's utter nonsense to think that those two would ever be conniving with one another.
Oh dear, this is most troubling, but surely the waxwork the man stole has nothing to do with the coroner, is it?
I have had my own problems with members of the police. I do not trust them much. Welcome to the club. Elaborations, please. I've seen no rigorous proof that this waxwork was ever inside the birdcage. It's conjecture.
Accusing someone without right evidences is not a proper job. You see, I won't have it.
That was a weird order to do that in.
Somewhat unsurprisingly, it seems the introduction of this waxwork model to the proceedings has polarized opinion.
Given that its face is obscured and its build in no way resembles that of the victim. I can only applaud my lone friend's temerity at suggesting it as Mr. Assman's body double.
Yes, that applause is deafening. And yes, I know it seems extraordinary, but that's the point. That's why I have a strong feeling it's actually a greater clue than anyone yet realizes. What are you thinking, Mr. Naruhodo? I can't explain why at the moment, but I feel as though there's a specific reason why it was used. Why it had to be this model. Really? A reason why nothing else would do, you mean? Yes, I'm convinced. It's something far more significant than whether or not the model looked like the victim. Well, if that's the case, we must prevent the trial from ending prematurely at all costs. Yes, agreed. I have to find a way out of this.
If you are ready, counsel, you may proceed with the summation examination.
Yes, my lord. Okay. I'm ready. Lay it on me. The defense's rebuttal. Let's do this. You know the one for years, you never been accomplished to anything. Okay, so I guess we just gotta find someone who can demonstrate a reason why she might be. Other nonsense things, let's do whatever we can have with one another. You and the sixth guy are pretty clear on that front. Most troubling, surely the waxwork man stole something with the coroner, so we have to prove that's wrong. Clearly have to prove that's wrong. Now my own problems. I want to hear more from you about that. What sort of problems?
Let's just say we've run into each other on numerous occasions while performing in the street.
Right, I see.
Obviously, artists such as myself cannot appear on stage as we work in close proximity to our audiences, so we perform our great magic in parks, on street corners, and the like. But the police use any excuse to— Oh, wait, did he get pissed? Let me guess, he took offense to what he just said. In which case, boo-hoo, cry me a river. Do you have something to say in response to that, Mr. Automole? Who are you calling a mass murderer?
The world, I think. Sorry, my mistake. I got confused because I heard you look like it.
I don't look anything like the man. You want to be locked up, Sonny?
Thanks, Mr. Sholmes. Oh yeah, remember when Mr. Sholmes said he was gonna be here by our side? Yeah, well, that was a big old lie. Perhaps we can move on. I was really wondering if you had something you wanted to add in response to what juror number 3 just said. And clearly you do.
Back in my day, back in the good old days, it wasn't like this.
I didn't intend to give him that voice, but then he said, back in my day, and then I had to give it to him. It was only by faith that I had to. What was it like, sir? He said, begrudgingly.
We worked our fingers to the bone to earn the public's trust, we did, and we failed colossally as it would turn out, and by Jove, we earned it. People respected us back then.
And then we all woke up. Respected you?
No one would have called a coroner into question in them days. A coroner's report was the hallmark of an investigation done right, especially when Dr. Courtney Stevens put her name to it. She was the best of the best and the apple of the force's eye.
Dr. Stevens? Hold on a minute. What are you talking about? Who's Courtney Stevens?
Sorry, got a bit carried away there.
Stevens is Dr. Sire's maiden name.
Her maiden name? So that was before she was married.
Of course, yeah, silly me. It's Scythe now, isn't it?
Stevens? I'm sure I've heard the name somewhere recently. Have we heard it somewhere recently? I was not under the impression that we'd heard it somewhere recently. Okay, then. Oh, wait, hold on, wait, is it in one of the, I doubt it wouldn't be here, because this is just an endless stray of nothingness. Wouldn't be there, or there. I don't think, yeah, it wouldn't be here at all. I feel like I feel like I should be able to pull this name from somewhere. Aha, there we go. Okay, so it says, I didn't read this first time. So it says it right there. I probably should have read this at the beginning of the case when we actually, or not the case, beginning of the episode when we actually, you know, got it. But I'm glad we read it now. Okay, so it says it there. Okay, so there's our answer.
Anyway, back in my day, those were the great days of policing, not like now, when people hold us accountable for shit.
Sorry to interrupt, sir. But do you think you could change your statement to include that name?
Well, yes, I don't see why not.
It's Courtney Stevens. Okay, so that'll be useful. Yeah. Okay. So now this is what links those two together. So we'll do that in a second. Before I do that, is there anything else we can dig up here? No rigorous proof the box breaker was inside the birdcage. Okay, buddy, I can prove that definitively. But you claim the whole instantaneous kinesis demonstration was a trick. We literally have the glass to prove this.
That I did, but it's more than one way to pull a rabbit out of a hat, isn't there?
Sorry.
I grant you, given that this cage appeared from amidst an explosion, there'd have been no need to use a real person. But if a waxwork had been used, the culprit could at least have had the decency to make it look like the victim.
I'm not sure exactly how much criminals are governed by decency.
The point is, if you're going to make a claim about that waxwork being inside the birdcage, you need to give us some evidence. Without that, it's not just...
Okay, well, then I have evidence to give you.
I suppose we should expect nothing less than a logical argument from a fellow of the Royal Society, but that perhaps means his mind could be changed if we manage to present suitable evidence.
Evidence of the Professor Waxwork was inside... yes, of course I have evidence to prove that. We literally have the piece of glass. Actually, I have something I'd like you to see, sir.
Oh? I must warn you that I firmly believe that it's only wise to trust men in white coats. So given your jet black outfit,
You're wearing, you have a, what, this man, okay. So you don't trust anyone in black? Looking in the mirror must be very trying. Oh, good God. Okay. I do have some evidence. I have the, I think I bumped the mic there. Hopefully it looks like it's still recording properly. Okay, yeah, there we go. Anyway, I literally have a piece of glass.
what's that? A piece of glass?
Yes, it's a piece of broken glass we found inside the jacket on the waxwork. As you say, it's not ordinary glass, though. It's very thick and clearly made for extra strength. Much like the special glass that was developed for the construction of the Crystal Tower.
Holy smoke!
Exactly! The centerpiece of the Great Exhibition where the very incident we're talking about took place. On the day in question, the birdcage fell from above and smashed through the window of that special glass.
From whence this small piece originated, is that it?
Precisely. So what do you say? Now that clear evidence in support of the assertion has been placed before you!
Well, as I said, I only trust men in white coats as a rule. However, when the reasoning is sound, it's fair to say color shouldn't come into it. In light of what you've shown me here, yes, I feel obliged to change my position on the matter.
In that case, juror number 4, you will amend your statement now, please.
The presence of that piece of glass leaves me in little doubt the waxwork wasn't used to the birdcage. Okay, so that should be able to nicely pit you against accusing some of our evidences. Yeah, so we can pit. Okay, so where do we begin? So juicy. We have two things we can do here. Okay, so do we start with you and you, or do we start with you and you? I think we'll start with, just because we did this one first, I'll do you, and I'll do it against, I think that's pointing at you, yeah. We'll do this one first. Those two statements clearly contradict each other, and then we'll do the other one since we did this one first.
Good gracious, to whose statements do you refer, counsel?
So, juror number 2.
Oh gosh, me?
I presume that you heard what juror number 6 said in his statement. It's brought to light the maiden name of the coroner, Dr. Side, which in turn has revealed a connection that wasn't apparent before.
Well, naturally, as a woman of society, I find such connections and relationships irresistible. But, oh golly, I'm afraid I fail to see what you mean.
Dr. Side's maiden name is Stevens, and through that name the coroner is very definitely linked to the waxwork of the killer. The defense has evidence to prove it.
My goodness, evidence, you say? How utterly enthralling.
Counsel, the court cannot overlook that last remark. I very much hope there was substance to your claim.
Of course, my lord. I would ask the court to look at this. The evidence that clearly links Dr. Sides to the mass murderer known as the Professor!
Take that!
I have here a custodian autopsy report from 10 years ago.
A 10-year-old autopsy report? What evidence does that have?
Oh, you'll see. It is, of course, from the autopsy of the person portrayed in the waxwork, the killer known as the Professor!
The professor's... But the man was a capital offender, so...
That's right. This is the certification of death that was drawn up after the convict's execution. The identity of the killer was never made public, so the report gives few details. But what's important is the name of the coroner who wrote it. Courtney Stevens!
Oh my, Courtney Stevens?
Strike a light!
It appears that the professor's autopsy was conducted by Dr. Scythe 10 years ago, and a few days ago Mr. Drebber very deliberately stole the waxwork of the professor from Madame Tuspells. A waxwork that doesn't in fact resemble the victim, Mr. Assman, at all!
And do you suppose there's some unsavory relationship between those events?
Absolutely, I'm sure of it. There's no doubt in my mind that the Professor case is at the heart of a link that we have yet to uncover. Between Dr. Courtney Scythe and Mr. Enoch Drebber! So call her to the stand, and we'll draw it out of her.
We're surely obliged now to explore this further.
There we go. Alright, there's 1 down, and in turn I'm sure juror 6 will be down, so there's 2 down. Only 2 more to go, and I guarantee you I can get jurors 4 and 5 to flip, because we now have evidence proving that the body was inside the birdcage.
Quite right, we can't let this trial come on in now. Not whilst there's this cloud of suspicion hanging over the yard's best coroner. I wasn't like this back in my day. We're still here to uphold justice in the end. Back in my day, old man yelling at a cloud, old man Jenkins, or whatever, I don't know.
Alright. Nearly there. So now all we gotta do is just head over to you, and Winnie the Pooh would like a word with you.
Objection!
Those two statements clearly contradict each other.
Good gracious! To whose statements do you refer, counsel?
If you could put down your corn for a moment, juror number 5.
Oh, you mean me?
You've pointed out that it's wrong to make an accusation without evidence, but the accusation that the waxwork model was inside the second birdcage on the day in question is not without supporting evidence, as the defense demonstrated to the jurors sitting behind you.
Oh, is that right?
Would it be fair to say you didn't follow the argument?
I don't understand much besides Colonel Cobb, to be honest.
Of course you don't. If I could interject here. Please do, sir. My brain is fried. I've been at this for too long.
Now that the assertion of yours about the waxwork has been backed up by some solid evidence, it would be wrong of me as a man of science not to pursue this matter further.
Well, that was easy. There we go. Problem solved. Again, I just need a Staples button. That was easy.
Well, me too then.
Oh, sorry.
If this brainy gentleman says he's right, then he must be. See, I wouldn't really go against Colonel Cobb or anyone who's got stuff in between the ears.
Alrighty then. And so the scales of justice have tipped in our favor once again. Success, if you can call it that. By definition, yes, even if it's by a slim margin.
Thank you, counsel, that will do. As a result of the summation examination, the jury's overall leaning has changed. 2 jurors now call guilty, against 4 who call not guilty. Accordingly, the court has failed to reach a consensus at this time, and the trial must continue.
We did it! Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo. Another wonderful victory. We haven't won yet, Susato. We still got a long way to go. We still have a lot left to do in this trial. But, you know, small victories and all that.
A waxwork of the despicable professor uses a body double for the victim in this quite extraordinary case. I must say, it's extremely hard to believe the assertion could possibly be true. However, it would appear that it does at least warrant further investigation.
It's the waxwork of the professor that links Mr. Drebo and Dr. Scythe. And I'm convinced that there's a special significance to that link.
I don't know what you're hoping to prove, man. I really don't.
The truth, sir. By using evidence and testimony.
Back in my day, we had no reason to use such things as evidence, and we still don't today.
If the court is to delve deeper into the alleged involvement of the waxwork in this case, then the prosecution calls for the owner of the model to be summoned as a witness.
The owner?
I would have gone for Courtney first, but okay.
Madame Tuspels.
I really thought that Lord Van Deeks would object to this whole line of inquiry.
Very well, I concur. Make arrangements for Madame Tuspels to appear as a witness with immediate effect.
Listen carefully, my learned friend.
Oh, yes?
You should know that you're on the brink of opening Pandora's box.
You know, okay, I'm gonna say my thoughts until we roll, until we hit. I mean, I'm sensing it to be continued here in a second.
During that time, the prosecution will summon the new witness and prepare for her for taking a stand.
Madame Tuspels, yes. I shall see to it at once, my lord.
To be continued, or is there going to be a post scene in the defense antechamber? Okay. Wow. I have some thoughts. So there's no denying this case is incredibly strong so far. However, I'm starting to get this really bad pit in my stomach because whenever I just, so they're doing a lot of build-up, right? They're doing a lot of incredibly tense build-up of, like, the history of the wax model and the link between the professor in this case and the link between Courtney Stevens and everything, and just, there's a lot, and he even said, you're about to open a Pandora's box. That's a bold claim to make. So I just have this sinking feeling that it's not gonna live up to my expectations. I'm like, my expectations and my what's going on in my brain is like through the roof at the moment. So I'm really, really worried that they're not gonna be able to live up to those expectations with whatever the hell they're gonna reveal next time. So I'm fingers crossed that it's gonna be good, but I'm really worried that they might be shooting too high, like they might be reaching for the stars and they're gonna end up only hitting the moon. Which, you know, only hitting the moon is still a high bar to reach, but still, it's like, I don't know, man, I'm just getting worried. Okay, well, I guess I'll find out tomorrow, so that'll be it for now. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for next time. I hope to catch you all tomorrow for what is probably going to be the final episode of this case of the Great Ace Attorney to resolve. Goodbye.